The District Court of Washington upheld the validity of covenants under which white owners agree not to sell land in Washington to colored persons was voided when the Homeowners Loan Corporation became owner of the property in question. A white family had conveyed a property to a black family, but the white neighbors objected and brought a complaint to the city government. In simpler language, racism was still a protected institution in Washington, D.C. Ugly free speech was upheld in New Jersey as the state Supreme Court voided a race-hatred law aimed at the German-American Bund activity operating there, including holding rallies. 9 men accused of making or promoting anti-Jewish speeches were found to be innocent as the state law conflicted with the constitutional guarantees of free speech. The state's race-hatred law made it a misdemeanor to make utterances in the presence of 2 or more persons of hatred, abuse, violence, or hostility against any race, color, or creed. The anti-Semites had been convicted, fined, and some sentenced to jail time before the upper court's ruling. To denounce one's fellows or advocate hostility to them is as revolting to any fair-minded man. Yet, his utterances must be such as to create a clear and present danger that will bring about the substantial evils to society that the state has a right to prevent, wrote Chief Justice Thomas J. Morgan. An appeal was under consideration. The spirit of Christmas wisped thin in some places. A draft dodger of the World War, Grover Cleveland Bergdahl, was denied parole by the War Department to be with his family for the holidays. He'd lived in Germany for many years, coming home in 1939 with a wife, Berta, and 6 children in tow. Bergdahl was convicted of desertion, escape and draft evasion during the World War, and was sentenced to 7.5 years at Fort Leavenworth. The Vichy government was charitable when it announced that Americans located there could broadcast a 20-word Christmas message to 10 friends in America, provided the message contains no politics or military information. Meanwhile, the French resistance, underground opposition to Nazi control in their homeland, continued to undermine the Axis powers in Paris. Another Nazi officer was shot in the Rue de Saint-Latin quarter of Paris by a bicyclist who quickly fled the scene. It meant fresh reprisals against Parisians, but the resistance pushed on. The Serbs continued to give the Germans fits, as 7 Nazi divisions, at least 100,000 men, had been dispatched in an attempt to wipe out opposition to the Axis occupation. The date line for the story was Jerusalem. There were only 16 shopping days left until the birthday of the celebrated son of Joseph and Mary, who had been born there 1,941 years earlier. An underground movement of Nazi-occupied Romania was also taking shape, with an unusual leader, none other than King Michael, a mere sapling of 19 years, but a brave one at that, together with his sweetheart, Irina Malaxa. They were actively arming, aiding, abetting, and plotting with the anti-Nazi guerrillas growing in the country. The British government took to the airways and called for a V for Victory army of civilians in the occupied countries, estimated at 200 million, to switch over from passive to active resistance. The time has come, over the BBC, for the army to form in small platoons. Factory workers lose their tools, and that office workers muddle and miscalculate. And we'll pause there.